Sparta, renowned for its military prowess and disciplined society, was one of the most intriguing city-states of ancient Greece. Its unique customs and rituals set it apart from other Greek cities, often evoking both admiration and bewilderment. Here, we delve into the top 5 most controversial rituals and customs in Sparta. At number 5, the agoge. In today's world, the word Spartan conjures images of formidable warriors, unyielding in the face of adversity. This reputation was cemented in part from the way a small contingent of Spartan soldiers led by King Leonidas valiantly held their ground for several days against a much larger Persian army during the Battle of Thermopylae in 480 BCE. But what exactly molded these legendary fighters and why were they considered the best? Enter the agoge. At the heart of Spartan society lay the agoge, a rigorous training system designed to shape young boys into disciplined soldiers and loyal citizens. Let's delve into its workings. The agoge spanned 3 stages: paides, ages 7 to 14, paidiskoi, ages 15 to 19, and habantes, ages 20 and beyond, each crucial in the development of Spartan youths. Separated from their families at 7, Spartan boys entered communal barracks under the watchful eye of elder warriors known as the paidinomos, fostering bonds of camaraderie and instilling in them a deep loyalty to their peers and the city-state. During the initial stage, they were not only taught about writing and mathematics, but also intense gymnastics and athletics, as physical training was a cornerstone of the agoge. It helped the boys develop strength, agility, and endurance. They also engaged in brutal mental conditioning, which instilled in them virtues such as courage and resilience. The Spartan boys endured harsh conditions such as going around in barefoot and rarely bathing, resulting in calloused skin and toughened bodies. Additionally, these boys crafted their own beds from shrubs and trees. They were provided with only a single cloak for year-round wear, teaching them to withstand different seasons, whether extreme cold or heat. It wasn't uncommon for them to be subjected to whipping, especially if their bodies didn't look sufficiently fit during regular inspection. With meager diets, theft was encouraged to stave off hunger, but punished harshly if caught, teaching them stealth and resourcefulness. Contrary to belief, the agoge wasn't solely military training. Rather, it prepared youths for the demands of soldiering, ensuring unwavering obedience and adherence to regimented life. Being in agoge resulted in Spartans' fearlessness in battle and their willingness to face overwhelming odds without hesitation. Their bravery and sacrifice became emblematic of Spartan valor and contributed to their fearsome reputation.
This is Sparta!
Moving on to number 4 is the Crypteia, the secret police. The Crypteia has long intrigued both ancient Greek scholars and modern historians, shrouded in mystery with scant historical records. Its purpose remains highly contested, making it one of the most enigmatic aspects of Spartan society. Experts hold differing views regarding the Crypteia. Some see it as an advanced stage of training within the agoge system, akin to a rite of passage for young Spartan warriors. Others assert it was a clandestine organization, similar to Nazi Germany's Gestapo, tasked with surveillance and control, particularly over the Helot population. Despite these debates, both perspectives agree on its role in maintaining order and quelling dissent. To grasp the significance of the Crypteia, one must understand Spartan society's hierarchical structure. At the top were the Spartiates. They are the full citizens of Sparta who underwent the rigorous training of the agoge and regarded as military elites. Below them were the Perioeci, the non-citizens who enjoys freedom but without political rights, and at the bottom were the Helots, state-owned slaves originating from Laconia, an area near Sparta. They were reduced to servility after their land was conquered by the Spartans during the 8th century BCE. Despite their vital role in sustaining the Spartan economy through agricultural labor, the huge numbers of Helots posed a continuous threat to Spartans' peace. To preserve their control, the Spartans allegedly established the Crypteia as a covert means of monitoring everyone. Operatives of the Crypteia, typically young men at the age of 18 and beyond who excelled in the agoge, were tasked with espionage, surveillance, and even assassination, armed only with a dagger and basic provisions. They patrolled the countryside, tracking Helot activity and suppressing any signs of dissent. To discourage rebellion and quell the constant fears coming from the ruling elite, the Spartans subjected the Helots to brutal repression. The Crypteia operated with impunity, employing terror tactics to keep the Helots in check. This secretive and brutal institution exemplified the Spartan commitment to control and stability at any cost. The Cryptia remains a shadowy and controversial aspect of Spartan society, embodying the extremes to which the Spartans would go to maintain their dominance and preserve their way of life.
Sliding to number 3 is Syssitia, Sparta's common mess dining system.
In most countries, it is common for family, friends, coworkers, and neighbors to eat together, especially when there's something to celebrate.
There is nothing peculiar about this custom, but in Sparta, this practice took an extraordinary turn.
The government mandated that all adult male citizens share evening meals together every day, whether single or with a wife and kids waiting at home. To make it even more bizarre, absolutely no one is permitted to be absent. Even the king has to have a very good excuse for failing to attend, such as performing a sacrifice or having a medical emergency. For those who dare to be absent without proper notification, heavy fines are imposed. If the excuse given is deemed less forgivable, gifts must be presented to the dining hall as recompense.
The Syssitia, or common mess dining system, was mostly practiced in ancient Greece, particularly in Crete and Sparta.
This tradition aimed to foster camaraderie among warriors and promote equality within Spartan society. Each mess was composed of around 15 men who shared food and drink prepared by the state. Meals consisted primarily of simple fare such as black broth, barley bread, and wine diluted with water, as drunkenness was disdained. It encouraged solidarity among Spartans, reinforcing the notion that they were all part of a larger military brotherhood. There was a theory back then that it was probably a way to curb luxury among its military elite, for the younger generation to learn wisdom from the older citizens, and allegedly for the Spartan state to weaken family ties. Spartans were conditioned to put the state first and foremost in everything they did. While it was said that the Spartans only ate twice a day to keep a physically fit body, some scholars believed that given the intimacy of Spartan society, it was highly unlikely that those male adults never shared other meals with their families. They also believed that they just ate a light supper during Syssitia time in the evening. Spartan males needed to apply for a spot in the Syssitia, just like in any fraternity or club.
If any current member disagreed, then the applicant would be rejected.
They shouldn't be alarmed by the rejection, as there are plenty of dining halls where they can submit their application. Originally, the number of members allowed in a group was strictly 15, but eventually, due to practical reasons, the numbers grew depending on the administrator.
Spartan male citizens were required to pay a monthly due to be part of the exclusive dining club or Syssitia.
It had a fixed membership, which meant that they would be sharing evening meals together for life. Failure to pay the monthly due would mean expulsion from the group and, at times, demotion in the Spartan social ranking. As they say, no man wins any battle, of any kind, completely by himself, but rather with peers. This truth was never so literally and figuratively true as shown in the Spartan way of life. Eating and drinking together each day proved to be an advantage in their military pursuits.
Next on the list, at number 2 is the Spartan marital rituals.
Marriage in Sparta was not arranged with romantic sentiments or courtship rituals. Instead, they were orchestrated with a precision akin to a military campaign. Spartan men were expected to marry in their late 20s, at the peak of their physical prowess. However, their brides were often much younger, mere adolescents in their late teens, chosen not for love but for their potential to bear strong offspring. Marriage was governed by strict eugenic principles of selective breeding or genetic improvement aimed at enhancing the quality of the offspring, children who were healthy, strong, and capable of contributing to the military and economic strength of the city-state. This involved careful consideration of the physical and mental attributes of potential partners to ensure that desirable traits were passed on to future generations. The wedding began with a unique and symbolic tradition, the ritualistic abduction. Once the families had consented to the union, the male Spartan would ceremoniously kidnap his bride-to-be, whisking her away to their future abode. Here, she would be attended to by female companions, preparing her for the momentous occasion of her wedding night. The bride's head would be shaved, and dressed as a man, a gesture symbolizing the shedding of her previous identity as a maiden and her willingness to sacrifice vanity and embrace Spartan ideals of austerity and obedience. Other scholars suggest that the ritual of shaving the head was possibly intended to impart a more masculine or boyish appearance to Spartan brides. This speculation arises from the fact that Spartan men, until that point in their lives, predominantly interacted with other males.
Allegedly, this is to make them more comfortable during sexual intercourse.
The bride would await her husband's arrival in a dimly lit chamber. The groom would make a surprise entrance, and the couple would consummate their marriage. However, the fleeting intimacy concluded abruptly as the husband departed, returning to the military barracks where he resided until the age of 30. It was said that months may pass, or even years, before the Spartan husband would catch a glimpse of his elusive wife in the light of day, as they only see each other at night. By then, she may have borne him several children, heirs to the Spartan legacy of strength and discipline. Spartan men spent much of their adulthood in military service, and it was not uncommon for them to be away on campaigns for extended periods. It highlighted the importance of military duties in Spartan society and the expectation that husbands would prioritize their obligations to the state over their domestic responsibilities. For this reason, Spartan wives enjoyed greater freedom compared to their counterparts in Athens. They took on significant responsibilities, managing estates, overseeing farms, and bearing children, while their husbands were often occupied with military duties. Other women from other states or cities were fascinated by the freedom that Spartan women enjoyed. There was a popular tale shared by Plutarch, a Greek philosopher and historian, about a woman from Attica who purposely asked Queen Gorgo, wife of Spartan King Leonidas, about the role of women in Spartan society. She was curious as to why Spartan women seemed to have more power over their men than women from other places.
Queen Gorgo thought for a moment and then replied with a wise answer.
She said, "It's because we Spartan women give birth to real strong men." This meant that in Sparta, women raised brave and tough sons who weren't afraid of strong women like their mothers.
It also implied the obvious lack of same quality in the men of other city-states.
Even if Gorgo's sons were away training to become warriors, they still respected their mother and fought to protect her and their home.
And at the top of the list, at number 1, is selective infanticide, the harsh reality of birth.
Prominent Greek historians wrote that in ancient Sparta, they practiced selective infanticide to maintain and enhance the strength of the Spartan population. In his book Life of Lycurgus, written around 100 CE, Greek philosopher and author Plutarch said that in Sparta, only fit and strong babies survived, while those found to be deformed or sick were abandoned to die. He wrote, on the grounds that it is neither better for themselves nor for the city to live their natural life poorly equipped. Upon birth, the parents, particularly the father, would conduct their own assessment to determine the baby's fate. One of the first things they did was wash the babies with wine. It was a common belief at that time that wine could strengthen the child's physique, and if the baby survived this initial test, they would be deemed healthy.
However, if they found any sign of illness or physical deformities, the baby would then undergo a more formal assessment.
Spartan babies were presented to the Council of Elders, also known as Gerousia, comprised of experts and respected leaders in the city-state. They assessed each baby based on specific criteria, primarily focusing on any evidence of physical disabilities, to ensure that the Spartan lineage of robust strength and resilience continued. If any of the newborn infants showed signs of being sickly or deemed weak, the Council of Elders would assess them as unfit to be reared, and they were brought to a remote location near Mount Taygetos, popularly known as the place of rejection, or apothetai. Contrary to some tales, the babies weren't thrown from the mountain but were abandoned at the foot of the mountain, exposed to the elements. In the ancient world, exposure as a passive form of infanticide was common. Leaving their fates to the gods, the babies would perish due to the wildlife in the area or the cold temperature. For thousands of years, Plutarch's historical account was accepted by many, but some modern scholars question if it was just a Spartan myth. They questioned if these Athenian writers who were in deep rivalry with Sparta were biased or exaggerating with their tales. In 1931, archaeologists discovered a well in Athens with 400 infants who were mostly a few days old when they died, and by 2018, with modern technology, they were analyzed. It was determined that the babies weren't a result of selective infanticide, but their deaths were more consistent with high infant mortality during ancient times, as they were cared for until they succumbed to death. It begs the question if selective infanticide was a common practice in ancient Greece as we all were made to believe. Some experts argue that whether it was a common practice or not, no one can deny that selective infanticide happened in Sparta.
Pro-eugenics advocates believed that this practice was necessary to improve the genetic quality of the human population. In fact, The concept became accepted in some regions during the late 19th century and continued into the early 20th century.
They often cited Sparta as a perfect example of what they wanted to achieve. They justified the implementation of the practice by claiming it was for the common good of society. However, it was generally unpopular, and modern historians remind everyone of the dangers of such practices, citing the chaos and diversity created by the Nazi pursuit of the perfect race in Germany when societal ideals overshadowed individual rights. While there are conflicting views on what happened in the past, it is unquestionably true that being a Spartan in ancient Greece wasn't easy at all. There you have it, history's top 5 most controversial rituals and customs in Sparta. If you like my video, please subscribe, click the notification bell, and leave a comment below.